Off and racing for the opening 2.5 mile maiden race, the first of its type here at Armagh as they take the run towards fence number 1. A tense approach is one of the first to show, with Kinbarra First Draft keen to go forward as they clear the first and race up now to past the post, where Kinbarra First Draft leads from one more stroke in second. Intense approach is third, and they're being chased on the near side by Drumna Snoop. Just in behind Drumna Snoop, racing down the inside is Jepson. And then comes Lieutenant Main on the outside of Bay West. Force Be With You is in front of Professor Clump, who is the early back marker. So down the hill they go, making the way on down towards fence number 2. And out front, with the advantage, Epson's come through on the inside. One more stroke is on the outer, and Kinbarra First Draft is in between horses. They're being chased just in behind by Bay West, Lieutenant Main, and Intense Approach is out wide. So too racing wide is Drumna Snoop. Behind these, Force Be With You and Professor Clump. Racing on their way now to go towards fence number 2, which will be on the rising ground, bringing them into the back straight. And out front, they're spread pretty wide through the early part of this. Jepson is towards the inside. Intense Approach is the outer. In between them is one more stroke, who has the benefit of a previous run when finishing second at Tallowan debut. And they're the leading trio, being followed widest of all by Kinbarra First Draft. Just coming together there, Force Be With You and Lieutenant Main just landed alongside over that one as they take the turn along the back straight for the first time. Now they go towards fences 3, 4 and 5, which will come up pretty quickly together for these youngsters. It's Intense Approach on the outside of Jepson, and in between horses is one more stroke. They're the leading trio, with Bay West tucked away in 4. Lieutenant Main is 5, and this one's being followed just behind by racing a little wider out, Force Be With You, who's moved closer. And then Kinbarra First Draft, and this one's been chased by Drumna Snoop, as hitting that one very hard was one more stroke. Does well to survive. Heading now towards fence number 4, and it is Intense Approach over in front from in second spot. One more stroke, and then Jepson with Force Be With You, and towards the outside Kinbarra First Draft as they go to fence 5. Lieutenant Main is next down the inside, and then comes Professor Clump, and last of all is Drumna Snoop. So they race into the dip for the first time, and then they'll hit the climb that'll bring them up towards their departure point in this 2.5 miler. And it is Intense Approach who leads them up the hill. From Bay West now has moved through to pick up the share, the second, with one more stroke, and this one's being followed by Force Be With You. Jepson's just back a couple of positions, racing now alongside Lieutenant Main with a little bit wider out on the course. Is Kinbarra First Draft, and they're being followed towards the back of the field by Professor Clump as they come towards the fence, which will be the last next time. And over in front, Intense Approach leads them up, being followed by Bay West and then one more stroke, and then on the outside Kinbarra First Draft, with right up there too is Force Be With You, who's been making steady headway. Drumna Snoop is in the group, and they're being followed down the inside by Jepson with Lieutenant Main. Black markers Professor Clump trying to make ground as they head down the hill now and make their way on towards the bottom of the track. And out front it is Intense Approach who leads. From in second, Professor Clump has made good headway towards the inside to try and get closer to the pace, but it's Intense Approach. One more stroke, Bay West, and then Force Be With You with Professor Clump, Jepson and Lieutenant Main, and they're just in front of Drumna Snoop. They're getting away from Kinbarra First Draft. Now they begin the climb, bringing them towards the next. This is 5 fences from the finish in the opener, and out front it is Intense Approach who leads them up the hill, being followed in second by one more stroke. Then Bay West, Professor Clump and Jepson being followed by Force Be With You. Lieutenant Main is right on their heels. They're a few away from Drumna Snoop and Kinbarra First Draft. Over the next and racing into the bend, and a mistake there by Bay West at that one. Lost position as they turn into the back straight and head on towards the 4th last fence. They have a line of 3 fences coming up here. Intense Approach leads from in second spot. One more stroke. Professor Clump is right on the inside, and they're being followed just in behind by the 4th running Jepson, and further back behind this one a break to Lieutenant Main, and Force Be With You's lost position, and so too is Bay West. Coming now towards 4 from home, and it's Intense Approach. Jumped out well, the leader. One more stroke, got tight. Lost Bay West at the back. First faller, heading towards the 3rd last, and it's Intense Approach who comes to it. Again he jumps it well, pecks a little on landing, and lost Force Be With You at the back there. Heading on now towards the 2nd last, and it's Intense Approach who leads to it. He's quick with his feet in front, and second is one more stroke. They're being followed into the dip by the grey Professor Clump, and then Jepson being followed by Kinbarra First Draft, but it's Intense Approach who's been up there throughout. One more stroke is trying to put it up to him now on the outside, but it's Intense Approach who's picking up off the front end into the turn from One More Stroke in second as they round their way towards home. Intense Approach over on the far side. One More Stroke is rallying on the near. They're going away from Professor Clump, and 2 4-year-olds make their way towards the final fence, and it's Intense Approach who leads everywhere, leads to the last. One More Stroke's half a length down inside the closing stages. Intense Approach. One More Stroke is rallying, but Intense Approach is game in front and goes away by a length and a half from in second. One More Stroke, and they're being followed in by Lieutenant Main. Jepzone was next, and a couple to Professor Clump. 4 or 5 back to Drumna Snoo, and they're being followed in fact, Kinbarra First Draft was pulled up before the last.